This summer, step into the Mediterranean haven of Malta. Crystal clear waters, ancient ruins, and towering cliffs. The iGaming industry is converging in Malta to take on everything from green courses, the hottest tournament tables, courts, lanes, and of course, the UNESCO city of Valletta for iGaming Next 2023. A week-long festival experience rounding up with the biggest high-end European pool party, Showers, celebrating its 10-year anniversary. Join over 4,000 senior delegates and top affiliates from all around the world alongside industry giants for an unforgettable iGaming festival week. iGaming Next 2023. Contact our sales team for sponsorship opportunities.
And boom, we are live here at the Weekly News. The dynamic duo, as Nico has named us, is back. Nico, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm awesome. I'm awesome. Thrilled. Like back in the days, Pierre, when we started just with the Clubhouse breakfast chat, headed over to our own our own thing, and now we're back. Legends never die.
Legends never die. And the funny thing is, we are both in Malta today. Even though we are in separate places here, it would have been cool to sit together in the studio today, but our studio guys were too busy today, unfortunately. So we are sitting here separately. You are at the Westin Hotel here. I'm at the offices today. Tell us about Malta so far, Nico. What are you up to here?
So first of all, I'm attending the event of your competitor. Which I still like. I like different approaches, etc.
Okay.
I'm enjoying the weather just a little bit, and most and foremost, I'm just a big fan of when the iGaming family just comes together and finds themselves in one place. And that's always fun. It's always fun, talking to people, catching up the latest rumors, etc. And it's a good thing. What about yourself?
Yeah, all good here. All good here on our side. We've also been to the conference here yesterday and today, and so also had some interesting discussions. Lots of people are here, so it's been a good one for sure. I also want to just start off by, of course, thanking our dear sponsors who is making this possible today. PlayZone, our headline sponsor, and also Interactive and Hub88. So really, thank you guys for making this show keep on going week by week. Also. Good afternoon to Bogdan. Good afternoon to John. John who points out here that Nico looks a bit like Mike Patton. I can't comment on that myself. I don't know exactly who Mike Patton is. Do you know that, Nico? Does that ring a bell to you?
I don't know Mike Patton as well, but I can Google him up. And if I disappear now, I don't like the comparison. Okay.
You'll have to Google and see if that corresponds to how you feel. Good morning to Sam as well. Good morning, good afternoon, rather. It feels like it's morning, to be honest with you, after 3 days of conferencing. Nonetheless, we are going to jump into the agenda today, which is a short agenda, actually, because this week has been a pretty turbulent week for one of the major operators here on the European side, which is KINDRED. And KINDRED has been in the spotlight here several times during this week because of a bit of an exodus that is taking place within the senior ranks at the moment, with 4 of the C-levels within the space of a week leaving the company, which is interesting. And so we're going to kind of zoom in on this topic a bit, because also what is taking place within KINDRED at the moment is a potential sale, and we want to talk a little bit about that, and also just kind of what has happened within KINDRED recently. Also, just a short little A short little sidetrack to the Kindred topic would be the launch of Funky Time. And I took note of something interesting here that we're going to mention in the conversation later on. But of course, it's not a weekly news if it doesn't start with the Nico's 10 updates in 5 minutes sharp. So Nico, do you want to take over here? And,
yeah, I'm good to go. Today will be longer. Probably today will be a little bit longer. Usually I'm on time, but I'm all good.
Unlike the other ones.
Yeah. So we're still in reporting season, and Supergroup falls 13% in Q1. So Betway and spin operator Supergroup grew its revenue by 1% year on year in Q1 2023. As significant losses in several regions were offset by big gains in others. So the adjusted EBITDA for the quarter was 30.6 million, which is down roughly 50.2% from formerly 61.5 in the prior year. Now heading over to Playtech, and this is quite interesting. So the gaming software provider Playtech has issued its 2022 full year report. And they have an increase in revenue by 33%, resulting in 1.6 billion from the former 1.21 billion. And now it gets interesting. So the adjusted earnings is 28% up. Before interest and taxes, the EBITDA from roughly 220 million last year now to 405 million. But, and as said, now it's get interesting. But the revenue, the profit declined nearly 94% from prior 700 million, and this year it's 40 million. And guess what? This is the result of unrealized fair value gains. So if you ever heard about fair value gains, look up when Porsche, so the German manufacturer, reported a revenue roughly around like 1.2 or 2 billion euros, but a profit of nearly 6 billion euros. And then they had been labeled as Porsche. It's an investment bank who also kind of produces cars. So that was quite interesting as well. Heading over or staying on topic with Gambling Group reports 36% in revenue rise in Q1, just ahead of the casinos.com launch, resulting in a 6.6 million, and an adjusted EBITDA totaling 10.7 million. So the new owner of NeoGames, former Aspire Global, Aristocrats, their revenue reaches 3.08 billion Australian dollars for H1. So they have deep pockets and are able to buy NeoGames. And then a quite interesting story as well, as an auditor resigned at eMerchant Pay, citing governance concerns. Yesterday, I was talking to one of the guys being in charge at eMerchant Pay, and it turns out that the auditor resigned without actually telling eMerchant Pay. So we will just see as soon as eMerchant Pay will give their own statement. As of now, it's just the news of the auditor resigns, and fingers crossed we won't see another Wirecard. Then, still staying or heading over once again to Australia, as offshore gambling could cost the country roughly $3 billion in lost taxation. So, a report from Responsible Wagering Australia, RWA, has found that illegal offshore gambling could cost Australians close to $3 billion in lost taxes. Then, quite interesting as well, heading over to the US, as the Massachusetts regulator seems to be frustrated by DraftKings betting violation. So, DraftKings self-reported to the commission after discovering it offered bets on the tennis UTR Pro Series, which is not approved a betting, which is not an approved betting event in the state of Massachusetts. And so they reported themselves. So first of all, it seems like the internal compliance team actually works, but the regulator seems to be a little bit unhappy as they're like, okay, because the official statement was, wait, they took over just the betting office from a different state and applied it to Massachusetts. So this kind of frustrated the regulator a little bit. Then Flutter has been slapped with a 490,000 pound fine for marketing to self-excluded UK customers. And last but not least, to finally make it within my 5 minutes, it's Bet365 rolls out a new platform of Innovation Hub. So they are literally onboarding internal and external IT experts to keep their systems up and running and challenge themselves. So fingers crossed to Bet365 that this is just the right way to actually do it.
Fantastic, Nico. You managed to fail miserably at the 10 in 5 as per usual, but nonetheless as entertaining as always. So thank you for those updates here, Nico. Thank you for that. We're gonna just jump in a very small topic here before we talk about Kindred. I see that we have requests here in the chat already to speak Kindred. But first of all, Evolution launched their new flagship game called Funky Time. Total has spoken at length about this game, how it's been the most expensive game that's ever been produced for the iGaming industry. It's taken more than a year and a half to develop this game, whereas usually a game show takes about 6 to 9 months to develop. And all the hype in the world is behind this game. Nico, I don't know if you've had a chance to have a look at the game so far, but what's your first impressions of Funky Time?
Yeah, first of all, the sound is quite interesting, right? So I'm pretty sure we already have a video or at least some footage of the video itself. So it's a 1970s inspired disco themed Funky Time. And it's pretty much engaging. I had no chance to actually play it, and as slots is not my home turf, but it just looks from the footage I've seen, it just looks engaging, and I can feel why Todd is pretty proud of that specific product. And just to underline what you already said, it's more than 100 people had been involved in just literally coding and making this game possible. And there's this one statement: competition keeps you in condition, although Evolution seems to be in their own kind of competition area. They just keep the ball up and running, and that's why they obviously come up with games like this, as they tend to challenge themselves.
Yeah, in a world, or in an industry rather, that releases something like 500 to 700 games per month at the moment, which is the industry is producing at the moment. There is no shortcoming of content, and the operators are constantly complaining of most of these game releases being of low quality. Evolution takes the other approach and basically puts a massive amount of time, massive amount of effort, massive amount of resources into one game, which is the flagship game here, Funky Time. I took a little bit of a note here, actually, on the funnier side. Actually, I don't know if you guys have you seen the robot, Nico? Like the like, I don't know what you call it, like the bartender / slot machine robot. Have you seen it, Nico? Maybe in the background here, Nico, our Maltese Nico, maybe you can put the picture of the robot on the screen here, if you have it prepared, by any chance. Let's see if Nico can put it up here. Let's hold up and see if Nico is able to do that for us in short time. But essentially, there's a lot of interesting characters in Funky Time. And I took note that one of the characters, the robot, kind of disco bartender man, he reminds us of a very prominent meme that we're gonna show. But hopefully, Nico in the background. Oh yeah, there we have it. So look at the robot here to the left. And you can see like he's all smiling and dancing, but he looks a little bit uncomfortable, I must say. Like he looks like, I don't know. He looks like he's missing his robot friends or something like that. And this reminds me very much of a meme that became popular a couple of years ago. And Nico, hopefully you have the meme prepared in the background here. You want to switch over to the meme? All right. Hopefully technology is with us here. Nico in the background is working. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Do you recognize this meme, Nico? It's hide your pain, Harold. Hide your pain, Harold. Hide your pain, Harold, and the robot of Funky Time is pretty much uncanny to each other. These two legends that we have here. So yeah, just a little bit of a side note here. The game in evolution is strong, obviously, as the robot clearly is modeled after Hide Your Pain Harold here. At least that's my theory. Okay, let's move on, Nico. Let's move on to KINDRED and the news that has been reported now in the last week. But in order to understand the context of this news, we have to go back a little bit. Okay, so a couple of months ago, a activist investor called Corvex Management, which happens to be the biggest single investor and shareholder in KINDRED. They own about 15% of all the shares in KINDRED. They have been kind of pressuring KINDRED into a strategic review to explore a potential sale of KINDRED. Okay, so this single investor is looking to kind of convince the management to explore KINDRED to be sold. And after this announcement, we didn't really hear that much, until kind of like last week, where the news was revealed that Henrik Kärrström, the CEO of KINDRED since many years, decided to abruptly resign. And he resigned on the spot. And you know that when that happens, even though the message in the press release is, we thank KINDRED we thank Henrik for his services and it's all good and fun tone, you know that there is a lot more behind that message when someone has to kind of step away on the day. And the new CEO became Nils Sandén, kind of one of the two CCOs, became the new CEO of KINDRED. And then only a couple of days later, very short amount of time later, another 3 C-levels decided also to leave the company. The CMO, Ellen Barber, with 13 years of KINDRED, CCO, Anne-Jaap Snijders, who, as a side note, is a very strong paddle player, by the way. The CCO, he also left the company, as well as the CFO, Johan Wilsby, also leaving KINDRED. So essentially 4 out of the 8 C-levels of KINDRED left the company, essentially. And so this has now again then spurred the speculation that there is an imminent sale potentially happening within KINDRED. And so the thought here is that essentially the C-level team didn't agree with this kind of like exploration of selling KINDRED or the strategic review that is taking place, and because of that, we've seen this kind of like turmoil. But Nico, reading these stories, first of all, there's some more context to come here as well. But reading this context, what's your first thoughts here?
Yeah, so first of all, as you already pointed out, if 50% of all the C-level seats suddenly and out of a sudden actually leave without any kind of shady or shitty news hitting the fan, it just smells like something has happened in between the overall management group. We know KINDRED with their journey to zero, which of course they did not yet reach the target. But first of all, they are one of the leading branch with, as soon as it comes to responsible gaming, taking care of your customers, giving back to the community, etc. So they are a leading and shining example on this one. And if, as said, 50% of the C-level seats within a time span of nearly 2 weeks, and not more than 2 weeks, suddenly resign, there is something going on, and I'm pretty sure, and this is where your expertise comes into play as well. There has also been an interview with Anders Ström, who is the enterprise founder of the Kindred Group, formerly Unibet PLC, and he also gave his thoughts on what actually happened behind closed doors. What is your guess on this one?
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very explosive. Like, it's rare that you see this kind of drama, especially for a company like Kindred, who has always been, doing their thing and working hard. They have a good, solid kind of base in the company and so on. But it was a very explosive interview with Anders Ström, then who the Kindred Group founder, who talked about that the fact that the resignation of Henrik Kjellström was kind of like a foregone conclusion, considering the differences between the board and what Henrik wanted the company to do. Obviously, again, to underline this, he points out that the Corvex management, this major investor and shareholder in Kindred, was absolutely the driving force behind the strategic shift. As well, Anders talks about the fact that Kindred has spread itself too thin. And it's a quite interesting point, because we've talked about this. We talked about this before in the podcast. The fact that Kindred is not exactly one of the biggest operators out there, right? They would be. They're still a major operator, but they are considerably smaller than, say, Flutter or Entain. But they have been, to some extent, they have been trying to position themselves as a future major player in the industry. Recently, they announced, of course, that they are building their own sportsbook, and eventually they will be, exiting Kambi, where they reside today. They acquired Relax Gaming, massive acquisition for Kindred, obviously one of the biggest game suppliers out there. They decided to embark on this massive North America push to enter the US market and invest heavily. Anders Ström talks about that this investment into the US market is costing Kindred today about $50 million a year. And so Kindred is trying to do a lot at the same time. And he talks about, when the environment changes, so when the political situation and this turmoil happen in the Netherlands, and together with kind of the macroeconomic climate, Anders talks about, in these times you need to be focused, whereas Kindred right now are trying to execute, 10 major projects at the same time. And he believes that is a mistake. Basically, he felt that it's better to focus on a couple of things and do those projects really well. So those are a couple of things that came out of that particular interview. Like people are commenting here in the comments, the article in Dagens Industri in Sweden, and we wrote kind of a summary on that on iGaming Next, which you can see is very fascinating, and it gives a really good insight into kind of the turmoil and what is going on within Kindred at the moment. We can see as well, someone is commenting, they felt really bad what is happening to Kindred. Things were getting tough, and then on top of things, the C-levels decided to leave. What a shame, and it is really a good point, and it does really put Kindred in a difficult position right now. And the question is, replacing these kind of long-term C-levels that have acted as a foundation in Kindred is certainly not something that happens overnight. To replace one of these positions is very, very difficult, right? With all the knowledge, the institutional knowledge, so on and so forth, let alone replacing 4 of them. What's your thoughts, Nico? What do you think? Are you up for the task? Maybe they will eventually need a new CEO.
So first of all, I'm quite comfortable with the seat I'm holding, and unfortunately, we already kind of do not show it anymore, because we just had the QR code where you can actually scan the QR code and reread the articles. And as already said, news like this, there you go. Just scan this QR code and you can follow up on the news. Usually, the Kindred group, besides reporting their status quo on the journey to zero and their Q1, 2, 3, 4 numbers and the overall numbers, they are pretty quiet. And as soon as these 3 major articles are hitting the news within a time span of 2 weeks, it's just crazy. And it's not like the regular, or we keep things pretty quiet Kindred approach. And yeah, we will just see how things actually turn out, and what's really behind the story. But I'm pretty sure there are some egos as of now who are not fully satisfied with how things evolved in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And actually, last week we just covered the story of the former CEO, actually Henrik Tjörnström, resigning. And this already was quite interesting news. Then the interview within the DI of the founding partner, the founding person, and now with 2 more C-levels actually resigning. As said, that's a couple of too bad news to actually handle it.
Here's an interesting insight for you as well. So, this the rumor is then, of course, that there's an imminent sale happening that the leadership team are just not agreeing with, essentially. But someone wrote on Twitter, and I can't really say if this is true or not. I haven't looked into it myself, but someone said that Evert Karlsson, the chairman of the board, just recently announced that he had bought further shares in Kindred, that he had invested in Kindred. And of course, if that is actually the case, then you can pretty damn sure assume that there is not an active sale taking place, because that would constitute insider trading, right? The chairman of the board, if he knew that a sale was imminent, he's not allowed to purchase shares. Of course, that's just not going to happen, right? And so that puts another interesting kind of perspective and angle on this story as well, where maybe there's other activities happening behind the scene here, and maybe there isn't really a buyer who is about to acquire Kindred. But on that note, if we are to speculate a little bit on like who at this stage could buy Kindred, so we talked about this, I think, for the better part of 2.5 years, that Kindred, in my world at least, has always been kind of a bit of a nugget. And Anders Ström mentioned this as well. He thought that selling Kindred was going to be much easier, perhaps, than it was, because Kindred has positioned itself as this kind of like, kind of like vertical integrated, fairly affordable operator with a lot of institutional knowledge and well positioned for growth, if it would be taken up by, say, an American land-based casino or an online operator, essentially. But as the year has progressed here, we haven't seen Kindred being acquired. We saw Caesars acquiring William Hill, as an example. We saw Fanatics recently acquiring PointBet, as another example. MGM acquiring Leo Vegas, which was really surprising to me, of course. We can see the tweet here on the screen by 86 John that corroborates this claim of the chairman of the board investing further into Kindred. But point being that yes, we haven't seen Kindred being snapped up when other operators have been, and so that kind of puts Kindred in a bit of a strained position where there isn't really that many actors in the industry right now who would potentially be strategically able to acquire Kindred, even if it's a good acquisition, just looking at the balance sheet kind of thing. But Nico, jumping over to you, like, is there anyone that's kind of sticks out to you as a potential acquirer by Kindred today? Is there anyone who you see, in your opinion, would acquire Kindred?
So if I would have had to answer that specific question 1 year ago, right, we would have easily come up with like 3, 4, 5 names like Disney, maybe Amazon, Microsoft, whatever you name them. So players who are
Yeah, a
literally
bit long
interested.
shot to be honest, but
Yeah, but
but
wait,
yeah,
wait, wait,
anyway,
wait. So
go ahead. Yeah.
literally players who are actually interested in buying into the iGaming world, right? Then you have a reliable source. You know, Kindred labeled themselves as the good guys with the journey to zero, which is first of all, and they followed up on that route as well as a specific acquisition target for as said Disney, as they were specifically eyeing to enter into the iGaming market, then acquiring something or somebody like, okay, these are the good ones, going or specifically aiming for the journey to zero, but with the new and for old CEO actually stepping out of the we want to get into the iGaming world. This is one of the bigger names actually putting their head or pulling their head outside of the ring once again. Then with probably like the Netflix of this world, they are within specific markets already offering like games. Why shouldn't they actually take a look at offering like gaming as well? But as the tides have turned, especially with Prop 26 and Prop 27 in California failing already, I'm pretty sure that this kind of massive storm, which could have resulted in if Prop 27 or going for the iGaming market and into in California, that would have resulted in different M&A strategies as well. Bogdan is pointing out that the zone would be interesting. As of now, the zone and one of our good friends, Ian Turnbull, they are dealing and coding their own tech as well. So I don't think that they are specifically eyeing into buying tech which they already developed on their own. But as said, my answer would have been quite other
those
1 year
are
ago.
those are out there. Those are out there predictions, Nico. I like the exotic predictions out of the industry. You never know with these things for sure. I would say, you know, looking at like potential acquirers that would fall into the bracket of maybe a little bit more likely. I would say, like, if I play the low odds game, I would say I would actually like Bogdan's prediction of the zone, because even though they are producing and they are developing their own technology, clearly, as we saw in previous demonstrations, the in-house technology that the zone has produced so far isn't fantastically impressive. So I would say as well that the zone would definitely be a good alternative. But I would say the most likely one, like the one operator that sticks out to me, that definitely there is a lot of strategic like kind of like relevancy with and logic with would be DraftKings. So it's just a matter of time before DraftKings decide to venture outside of the United States. Currently, of course, there is a lot of growth to be had in the North American market, and obviously they are live as well in Canada. So that's that's a second kind of nation that they have established themselves in. But it's just a matter of time before DraftKings then kind of extends themselves eastwards over to Europe, over the Atlantic. Latin America, of course, is a really hot market right now, even though Kindred is not exactly established over there. But nonetheless, Kindred is a solid company. It's pursuing the journey to zero. It has a lot of in-house technology. It has Relax Gaming to produce their own games, which DraftKings can leverage as well. There's a lot of synergy between the two companies, and I'm again going to kind of cement this fact that I think Kindred is an excellent acquisition for a major North American player. However, in my opinion, there is only DraftKings and potentially Sands left as well on that side of the industry. Sands have previously communicated that they are not interested in any B2C investments. So Sands obviously being the biggest gambling company in the world today. However, this statement came a year and a half ago. Things can change. Obviously, things change, and with the right opportunity and with the right cost synergies and so on, I would say that Sands is also an opportunity waiting to happen on that side. Sands has been very patient. They haven't been investing left, right, and center. They haven't launched their own operator. They came very late to the party, and maybe now in hindsight, they are happy that they came late to the party. Reason being the late Sheldon Adelson, the legendary owner and founder of the Sands, who was famous for being, well, he was famous for many things, including being the top donor to Donald Trump. That being one thing he was famous for. But another thing he was famous for was also the massive opposition to the online gambling industry. He wanted to keep gambling land-based in North America. And it was only after his passing a couple of years ago where the American Gaming Association, the AGA, then became more friendly towards the online gambling sector. And PASPA was repealed, the industry opened up, online came to life. But the Sands was still kind of left with that legacy of being anti-online. And so they missed kind of the first boat here. But I would say that that Sands is also a second potential acquirer of Kindred. So I'm going to say number one by far is DraftKings. Number two for me would be Sands. I would say I would place also Flutter or Entain as a potential organization that could acquire Kindred at a good price. DAZN, I really like what Bogdan is saying, but maybe the most likely outcome here is that private equity takes over Kindred. So not exactly an industry player or a well-known brand, but a Blackstone, for example, who can take Kindred off the markets. And obviously Blackstone would have the capital that is needed to turn Kindred from a kind of like an upper tier 2 operator to potentially the next Flutter or the next Entain, because they surely have all the technology, all the market know-how, the institutional knowledge, and the Relax Gaming on top of that to pave the way for this like major growth that Flutter and Entain was able to do in the 2010s. So that's my humble prediction, Nico. Does stand out as does anything stand out to you as interesting in that prediction, do you think?
So first of all, DraftKings, as long as they don't turn profitable in 2024, I am pretty sure they have enough pressure from their actual shareholders. That's why they are pretty flat on M&A activities. DAZN makes sense, would make sense. Or maybe another prediction. A good friend of yours, Tsachi Mammon, right? The magician. Let's just call him the magician. So he will take over the CEO sweet spot and just turn the ship around. And within a time span of, let's call it like 5 years, he will literally just, due to some M&A activities, he will take over Sands.
I like it. From a
You never know, right?
So takes over the entire gambling market. It would certainly not be a surprise. Sachi Mammon is one of the most impressive, if not the most impressive, executives of the entire industry. But where he could also fit in would be perhaps to take over the interim CEO position for Kindred. Sachi Mammon. Obviously, he built Aspire Global, which kind of built this before they offloaded the B2C brands. They built this very nice kind of like 360 one-stop solution kind of thing, iGaming companies that did really well. And so Sachi obviously has fantastic experience on that side. Now that Aspire was acquired by NeoGames, and then NeoGames acquired by Aristocrat. Question is where Chelsea belongs in that hierarchy, let's say. Maybe, he would be interested to move back to Malta here from Madrid, where he lives today, and take over Kindred and turn the ship around and make the shareholders happy here for the long run as well. Who knows? Who knows? I like the
Yeah,
prediction.
you,
I like it.
you never know. I just need to plug in my power supply cable, so just give me one or 2 minutes, and then I will be back.
Yeah. But Nico, you know what? I think we have kind of gotten to the point now where we are. We have discussed the Kindred topic, the big topic here of today, and so I think it's a good place to round up a little bit today. Actually, I really appreciate there's a lot of activity in the chat today. I see that Bogdan is mentioning here that on the note of the fact that Kindred announced that they are developing their own in-house sportsbook. Bogdan is commenting here that developing a platform from scratch can be a costly and time-consuming endeavor. If you have the financial resources, it's advisable to acquire an existing platform to start generating revenue. You can always create your own platform at a later stage. Bogdan is commenting here as well. And this plays into the fact, of course, that Kindred has announced that they are going to develop their own sportsbook platform and eventually leave the platform they are with today, which is Kambi. But yeah, that being said, Nico, we are both in Malta, and I think today is actually the day we are literally going to the beach to have a pina colada, because there's a networking event happening here in a couple of hours, and we are both here. We are both in good shape. We are both young. Well, fairly young at least, and I think we're ready to mingle. What do you think? We're ready to mingle.
Yeah, exactly. So this is what we're actually doing. If we not already met for our beloved pina colada, you never know, and probably you will never find out. But that's why the both of us are in such a good mood, probably resulting in one or two pina coladas.
Absolutely. And before we close the show here, as you can see in the yellow little strip here at the bottom, and for those of you guys who are listening, iGaming Valletta is fast approaching, 21st and 22nd June. This conference is taking place. Early bird tickets are just about to sell out, so the tickets are going to increase soon. Don't forget to secure the tickets. We are looking to sell out the show this year. We are doing our best on that front, so don't wait for too long. We hope that we will see all of you guys in Malta on the 21st and 22nd June. We absolutely can't wait. There's going to be a lot of insights. We have a lot of people from Kindred speaking as well, so really excited to mingle around and perhaps try to understand the situation better there. But if not earlier, then we will see you in Valletta. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Nico. Let's go to the beach.
Let's go to the beach. Thank you for having me.
iGaming Festival Week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. The iGaming Festival Week.